The private hangar doors groaned open under the harsh Texas sun, revealing a gleaming $8 million private jet sitting crippled on the tarmac, its right engine cowling ripped open like a wound, wires dangling, all pooling beneath. Inside the sleek boardroom overlooking the runway, billionaire CEO Victoria Langford leaned against the glass wall, arms crossed, a smirk playing on her lips as she watched the skinny 17-year-old boy in a faded hoodie step forward. The entire executive team held their breath. Victoria's voice cut through the silence like a blade. You? The cafetería kid? Your mother mops floors and pours my coffee every morning, and you think you can fix my jet? Fine. You have 48 hours. Succeed, and I'll pay for your college, full ride, anywhere you want. Fail, and your mother loses her job. Today. Right now. Let's see if street smarts beat money for once. The boy, Marcus, didn't flinch. He simply looked up at the towering machine, eyes tracing every line, every seam, as if he already knew its secrets. The room erupted in laughter. Victoria's laugh was the loudest. But what none of them knew, what would shatter everything, was that Marcus wasn't just some kid with a dream. He was the son she'd abandoned 17 years ago. And the jet he was about to touch had once belonged to the father she claimed never existed. Marcus Rivera had grown up in the shadow of hangars, not because his family owned them, but because his mother, Elena, cleaned them before dawn and served coffee in the executive lounge until dusk. She never complained. She never asked for more. She simply worked, double shifts, holidays, whatever it took to keep their tiny apartment lights on and Marcus in school. He helped where he could, fixing neighbors, land movers, rewiring old radios, even rebuilding a junked motorcycle from parts he scavenged at the salvage yard. Elena called it his magic hands. Marcus called it survival. He first saw the jet 3 months earlier. It had taxied in with a rough cough, the pilots cursing over the radio about fuel contamination and avionics glitches. Victoria Langford, CEO of Langford Aviation, the woman whose face was on every magazine cover in the break room, stormed out, screaming at mechanics who scattered like frightened birds. Marcus, wiping tables nearby, overheard her say, "If one more person tells me it can't be fixed today, they're fired." That day, something shifted inside him. Not anger. Not envy. Curiosity. He started sneaking onto the tarmac after hours, flashlight in hand, studying the engines from a distance. He read manuals he printed from library computers. He sketched fuel systems on napkins. He learned the Pratt & Whitney JD15D turbofan better than most of the certified mechanics who avoided eye contact with him. When the jet broke down again, this time catastrophically, Victoria decided to make an example. She needed the plane airborne for a critical meeting in New York. The usual repair crew estimated 3 weeks. She wanted it in 2 days. In a fit of arrogance, she spotted Marcus delivering coffee to the boardroom and decided to humiliate someone, anyone, to vent her frustration. "You," she said, pointing. "Boy. That's your name?" "Marcus Rivera, ma'am." "Your mother works here?" "Yes, ma'am." "Elena." Victoria's smile was ass. "Then let's make this interesting. Fix my jet. Or watch her walk out the gate with nothing but a cardboard box." The executives chuckled nervously. Marcus made her gas without blinking. "I'll do it." Victoria laughed outright. "You have tools?" "I have hands." She waved dismissively. Hangar 3. Don't touch anything you can't afford to replace, which is everything. Clock starts now. Elena found out an hour later. She burst into the hangar, apron still tied, eyes wide with terror. "Mijo, what have you done?" "She fired me. We can't lose this job." Marcus was already under the engine cowling, flashlight between his teeth. "Mami, trust me. Use tonse. Please." Elena sank to the concrete floor, tears streaming. She had raised him alone after a brief, painful relationship she never spoke of the father? Gone before you were born, she'd say, and change the subject. Marcus never pushed. Until now, he hadn't needed to know. Throughout the night, Marcus worked. He traced fuel lines clogged with debris from a bad batch of jetde. He found corroded wiring in the FedEx system, the electronic brain of the engine. He bypassed a faulty sensor with makeshift solder from a borrowed kit. Every tool he used, he cleaned and returned exactly where he found it. He barely slept. By dawn, the executives gathered again. Victoria arrived in her tailored suit, expecting failure. Marcus emerged, grease-streaked, exhausted, but calm. "It's ready for a ground run," he said quietly. Victoria raised an eyebrow. "You're joking." "No, ma'am." She motioned to the lead mechanic, who climbed in with disbelief. The engine spooled up smoothly. No cough. No smoke. Perfecto. The room went silent. Victoria's face hardened. "Lucky guess. Bad takeoff? That's different. One more test. Fly it to the practice strip and back. If it holds, you win. If it doesn't." She looked at Elena, who stood trembling in the doorway. "You both lose everything." Marcus nodded. He wasn't smiling. He was terrified, but not of the jet. The short flight was flawless. The jet lifted cleanly, banked, and returned without a shudder. The mechanics cheered despite themselves. Victoria stood frozen, arms crossed tighter than ever. "You actually did it," she said, voice flat. Marcus wiped his hands on a rag. "It wasn't luck. He studied this engine for months. Because it's the same one my father worked on before he died." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "Your father?" Marcus pulled a worn photograph from his pocket. A young man in a flat suit, smiling beside the very same jet model, 17 years younger, but unmistakable. The name tag read, Javier Rivera, lead engineer, Langford Aviation. Elena's gasp echoed through the hangar. Victoria stared at the photo, color draining from her face. "Javier." Marcus' voice stayed steady, though his hands shook. "He died in a test flight. Engine failure. You blamed him in the report. Said he skipped safety checks. Mommy never told me the details. She said it was too painful. But I found the old files online. The real cause was a design flaw in the fuel system, one your company fixed quietly after his death. You paid her off to stay quiet. A small check every month labeled, severance. She used it for my school. She never spent a dime on herself." Elena stepped forward, tears falling freely. "Victoria. He didn't want him to know. He didn't want hate in his heart." Victoria's composure cracked. She looked at the jet, then at Marcus, then at Elena. Memories flooded back, late nights in the design room, Javier's quiet brilliance, the way he challenged her ideas without fear, the night they shared too much wine and too many dreams, and the morning she chose ambition over love. She had buried it all. Buried him. Buried the guilt. "I was wrong," Victoria whispered. The words sounded foreign in her mouth. "I was scared. It was going to expose the flaw publicly. It would have cost millions. He convinced myself it was his mistake. He convinced everyone." Marcus looked at her, not with rage, but with something deeper. Sorrow. He loved this company. He believed in it. He believed in you. Victoria sank onto a crate, head in her hands. The executive stared, stunned. For the first time in decades, the untouchable CEO looked small. Marcus knelt beside his mother, hugging her tightly. "Mommy, you protected me my whole life. Now let me protect you." He turned to Victoria. "I don't want your money. I don't want revenge. I just want the truth out there. For him. For every mechanic who gets blamed when the real problem is higher up. Victoria looked up, eyes red. I'll make it right. Full public report. Compensation for Elena, real compensation. And for you, anything. College. Training. A job here, if you want it. Not out of guilt. Out of respect. Marcus shook his head slowly. I want to earn it. Like he did. Victoria nodded, a single tear escaping. Then start tomorrow. As an apprentice engineer. No favors. No shortcuts. Elena reached out, hesitating, then placed her hand on Victoria's shoulder. No words. Used forgiveness in the touch. As the sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the tarmac, Marcus looked at the jet, one that had taken his father, broken his mother, and now, in its repair, had begun to heal them all. Sometimes the biggest engines aren't the ones under cowlings. They're the ones inside us, capable of destruction, yes, but also of incredible, world-changing repair. And sometimes, the person you challenge to fix something broken, is the only one who can fix you too.